Hey, everybody. Dave Hagan here. There's joy in a completely owned quality product. Do you think so? That's today on the Financial Wellness Podcast.
Welcome to the Financial Wellness Podcast, Dave's weekly message to keep you on your path to the financial success. Here is your host, financial problem solver and talk show host, Dave Hagan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of TFWP, or also known as the Financial Wellness Podcast. With me today, Brian Reed. Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Pretty good, Dave.
You're coming. Good. I'm doing good. You're coming to us from the usual spot?
Yep.
Yeah, me too. Me too. You know, Nick's not with us. He's taken another week off.
Yeah, he's a slacker.
Well, you know, he's going to law school. I guess he's got his priorities, and he could be studying law and preparing for a career, or he could be sort of famous with us,
hanging out with us.
Yeah, the TFWP, and more importantly, having a good time hanging out with us, right?
Exactly.
Oh, man. So what I want to talk about this week is the joy of a good, used, wholly owned product. And let me tell you a little story. The other day, I went into the dry cleaners, and I noticed at the back of the store a couple of their big dry cleaning machines, and they were just cranking away. And it occurred to me that every time that I'm there, these machines are just cranking away. And I said to the woman behind the counter, I said, wow, those things are really productive for you, aren't they? They work all the time. They're generating you revenue. And she said, yeah, I mean, we have a repair here and there, but you know, they're owned, and they help us run the store. And it occurred to me that there is a good deal of joy in a product that continues to work, that's wholly owned. And I started to think of that in relationship to other things that I own in my life, or things that I was thinking about buying. And dare I say, an iPhone 12, a 5G, by the way, iPhone 12. and I've got a 10, and the 10 is good, and the screen is the same size, and the commercials got me all worked up, like I need to step into the modern age with the 5G iPhone 12. And it occurred to me, maybe there's some joy in having this fully paid for, fully operational, fully functioning, almost as good iPhone 10. And I've looked at my iPhone 10 in a little bit different way since then. And the same thing with a car. Brian, we talk about the fact that when a car is paid off, you're in the gravy years, and you should be able to take that car payment and throw it into a savings account and get that money to grow, or get ready, to buy the next car for cash. And yeah, okay, I'm driving a used car, blah, blah, blah. But maybe there's joy in those gravy years. Maybe there's joy in having a product that's fully paid for, fully functional.
Yeah, it's fun to say no car payment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to be said for that, right? I mean, and at the dealerships, they say, well, everyone has a car payment. I say, well, not me. Not me. I don't do that. But I think there's joy and flexibility in that, and joy in having a product that you own and appreciate and continues to deliver on an ongoing basis. I don't know. What do you think? I've never thought about the joy of that before, and maybe I should.
Well, I'm wondering as well, is it only with items that you have to make payments on for a significant period? Like the car is paid off.
Right.
You've been paying on it for 5 years.
Yeah.
Let's say. Now you're finally like, woohoo, So you've been looking forward to that day and that period of not having to make a car payment. So
There should be.
thinking about your dry cleaner lady. I wonder how many years she was paying on those machines
Right.
to get to the gravy years, and is that what the fun is? But I would think that you could have the exact same experience by just saving up the money and then finally getting the item that you want without having any payments.
To arrange for the financing. Yeah. Yeah. And if I owned the dry cleaners, I mean, I would look in the back of that store every day and go, I paid for those or made payments on those, and they help me generate money. And now they generate money without the payment. And I put that in my pocket, or I put that in my bank account. And there could be real joy when you think about it that way. I mean, I like I said, I thought about my iPhone 10 in a different way. I thought about the joy of having a fully paid for phone going into my pocket that I don't need to replace. I made a good purchase. I paid for it, and I don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't know. In some ways, it's kind of like the joy of having an emergency fund. We talked about this in a podcast last year, the joy of an emergency fund. And I always used to think, well, that's money that's not being useful. I'm not getting enjoyment from that emergency fund. And the thought was, no, there is joy in having the security.
Yeah, the peace of mind every night.
Peace of mind of that security fund.
I worked hard. I did that. I saved up a lot, and that's my emergency fund. And I can go to sleep easily knowing I can tap that if I have to.
Yeah, especially during these difficult times. You don't have to worry about, oh my God, am I going to get laid off or whatever. You've got some financial viability over 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, whatever it is. So maybe we need to change our thinking a little bit. We need to appreciate a fully paid for functioning product for what it is, and not think about, well, but I do need on that car full self-driving capabilities and white wall tires and, the sunroof. What I got's fully functional, fully works. And I'm appreciating that and deriving joy from it.
Needs versus wants.
Yeah. Yeah. And Brian, I think that this goes beyond even enjoying a product after payments on it are gone. I think that this also relates to, where you've got a product that you paid for it straight up, and you purchased something that had some quality. I mean, I'll give you a couple of small examples. Like, I've got a pair of yard clippers that I bought years ago, and I paid a little more and got a first class quality pair of yard clippers, and I still have them around, and they're worn out. The metal's worn and the handle's fallen off, and I paid for those clippers a long time ago, but I get joy in the fact that I'm still using those clippers that I paid for long ago. There's joy in having a quality paid for product. Or another example, some shirts or some clothes that I bought where the styling was a classic styling. It wasn't going to go out of style, and it was made out of a good fabric. And, maybe I paid a couple extra bucks for that years ago, but you're wearing it now. It's wearing well. It's still in style because it's classic tailoring. And I think that there's really joy in enjoying that product so many years later. Don't get caught up in, needing the exact latest and greatest, because someone just wants your money. They just want your money for some of their stuff. And if you can get joy out of something that you've owned and that is still useful and is still classic, and appreciate the benefit of that product, I think that's a really cool thing as well. So just some things to think about. We got a short show today. I just wanted to record this impression and get it out to our listeners on a Monday morning. No emails. Stay tuned. Come back to us. We're still working on that show with that millennial that we interviewed. We'll talk to you next week. This is Dave Hagan, and you've been listening to the Financial Wellness Podcast.
You've been listening to the Financial Wellness Podcast, Dave's weekly message to keep you on your path to financial success. If you have a question that you would like Dave to answer on the podcast, go to thefinancialwellnesspodcast.com. You can leave an audio message with one click of a button, or type your message into the question box. Either way, it's sent right to Dave's phone. Remember, Dave will randomly draw from the submitted questions and pick the winner of a free 1-hour personal conversation with Dave to help you achieve your financial goals. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you receive the new episode notifications, or share the podcast via the app with your family and friends. This is your announcer, Nick Appel, wishing you every financial success.